Welcome everyone back to another episode of Q&A with Sharon's son George. I was my mother's caregiver after she was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Unfortunately, she passed on 1/1/2020, but we started together for Sharon.com in her memory. Today, my guest is someone very special, not just called a special guest, but someone I consider very close because her journey is actually something very interesting and brings us together really for life. And we become family because as you'll get to know Betsy today, it's just astonishing the timing. And even though it's a tough topic and tough situation, it's brought us together and it means the world to me. So welcome, Betsy.
Wow. Thank you for having me, George. Appreciate it.
Maybe you could start and just tell us a little bit about yourself. And I know what you're going to bring up, your husband, your beautiful husband. So maybe you could just tell everyone who might not be aware of all your efforts and incredible advocacy more in the Alzheimer's field. But as everyone knows, the show is more catered for the Parkinson's community. But because of the timing of your husband's passing, which we sent our love and support for, I felt it was important to bring that topic up today. So maybe you could just give us a little bit about your background and Matt.
Sure. Well, let me show a picture of my husband. If you can see that. That was Matt. Um, I am a licensed practical nurse. I worked in various hospital settings, worked as a teacher's aide. I'm a mom to an adult son, Josh, who has a cognitive disability. My first foray into Alzheimer's was Matt's mom. Never heard of the word, even though I worked as a nurse. Never knew what Alzheimer's was. It wasn't called that back in the 70s. It was known as senility, hardening of the arteries. And I was devastated. I was shocked. Fast forward, my dad was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and then Matt was diagnosed in 2010, early onset. He was 56, and that started my advocacy. Actually, as soon as I got a smartphone, and I think it was 2016 or 17, I went in my car to raise awareness, to erase the myth of Alzheimer's being an old person's disease, and talked about caregiving, which then led me to meet Jeanne White, who's station manager, National Talk Radio, and she asked me to come on her show. And then I was given my own show, Chatting with Betsy. I also started #Kick Alzheimer's After Movement, because no one should ever walk this journey alone during or after caregiving.
I appreciate it. And I'm actually going to do that now and share some of those amazing resources so everyone out there listening can also follow Betsy. And I want to thank you first for the interview you did. And again, it's amazing how time flies. We met around probably before July 1st, 2023. So it's been a long journey. But if anyone wants to look much more in depth with Betsy, you can go to togetherforsharon.com, click interviews, and you can see how to reach her, a little bit more about her background, and also a link to all of her incredible resources right here. Now I'm going to also talk, you mentioned about chatting with Betsy, and everyone here can also look up passionateworldtalkradio.com, and you'll see chatting with Betsy. I had the honor to be on the show, and thank you for that. We also have something that I love together, and that's Betsy and I unfortunately lost our family members on the literal for the same day. So that's like, it's not just shocking, but it's like heartfelt. And that's really, I think, the bond that brought us together. And ever since we become like family, talk all the time and just mean the world to me. And this is a blog that we talk about together once a month because the one thing I do appreciate that you do is you're not just honest, but not you're daring. I like that the word. You want to take topics like I do and tackle them and not ignore them. And I think that's part of the problem with awareness is some tough topics out there that if we're not discussing and not focusing on that, no one will ever really get some good answers. So maybe you could touch a little bit about what made you decide to join with me on this blog.
Yes, well, thank you, George. I told George I'm a talker, not a writer. Um, but there's topics, you're right, George, that people don't want to discuss, and we have to. We have to bring this out into the open. Planning for a loved one's end of life, grieving, advocacy, education, um, keeping your relationship or marriage intact during caregiving. These are very important topics, and people don't want to discuss, but you know what? We have to blow the lid off of it. And that's one of the reasons why I went in my car, is because I had to blow the lid off of a lot of topics. Back then, people were not talking about it, George. And I am so happy to see more people on social media now talking about their journeys, showing their loved ones, more resources available for caregivers. And you're a wonderful resource for the Parkinson's community. And I appreciate your advocacy and what you do.
All right, thank you. Maybe you could actually, as I share now, we're going to head to your Facebook page. So if everybody wants to follow Betsy, you can see she's got a big following. And there's Matt pictured on the top. Maybe you could talk a little bit about Alzheimer's for those listening who might not know much about the disease.
Yes, it's a fatal, unfortunately, a disease. There is right now no treatment or cure. They are working on clinical trials. They are trying to get medications out into the market. I think you have to be in the very early stages. Unfortunately, when Matt was diagnosed, there wasn't really many clinical trials, or really there wasn't anything to slow down this progression. It is more than just memory loss. People think, oh, it's just memory loss. No, it's your brain cells are dying. You forget not only where your keys are, but how to use them, how to drive a car. Your vision is affected. Your motor skills, everything is effective. People progress differently. Everyone is different. I'm thankful that Matt progression was slow till near the end. And if I just want to suggest to your audience, George, if anyone has any concern about your memory, please, I beg you, get screened. Ask your doctor for a screening. And if they don't believe you, then go to another doctor. Because when Matt's memory was starting to, he was showing signs of forgetting his way around town, where things are in the house, trouble at work, his doctor blew me off. And it's not to be blown off. Find a doctor that will take you seriously, because if caught early, treatment can begin earlier. When I mean treatment is the medications that are available now, and maybe you could be in a clinical trial.
I appreciate it. I think this is very important information. And again, I concentrate on Parkinson's, but I wish we had a cure for all these diseases. And we send our love and support to you, your son, and your whole family 24/7. And as you know, you're never alone either. Whether it's different diseases that we all face, we all do have to be a kind of a family, whether it's, a different disease, because as caregivers, we're really all going through somewhat similar situations, even though our family members do unfortunately have different journeys. So I really appreciate your honesty and all that you do. And I know you're tirelessly out there advocating. I love some of the stories of the dark side of social media that you share with me, and I'm always amazed that I'll actually get blocked for posting something about Parkinson's awareness, and then you have to dispute it, and they put it back. And then YouTube will say this is blocked in some countries. I'm like, we're not even getting paid for any of this. We do it voluntary, and you want to just send a message to help people, and then you have the interesting side again of social media, but. I appreciate you sharing that. I'll probably leave this up just because of we're having a little trouble with the picture, but now it's perfect like this. So everyone, I hope you don't mind to keep looking at great resources that Betsy provides. And I really encourage you to listen to her shows. She covers so many different aspects. That's something maybe you can touch on. It's just great because, again, we concentrate on Parkinson's, which is kind of unique, but doesn't reach as many people. But what I like that you do is obviously you were affected personally by Alzheimer's, but you do interview so many different people from Parkinson's, from dementia, from ALS. I mean, maybe you could talk a little about your background with interviews and some of the most interesting people who are on your show.
Sure. Before I forget, George, I just want to say that they thought that Matt had Parkinson's at one time,
Right.
and he was tested for Parkinson's, but he didn't have it. My show is a variety show. My heart is always and will always be for the caregiver, but I interview people from all walks of life that can help a caregiver, because as caregivers, we're people who have other interests. I just interviewed, I just put out a show about a doctor who wrote about micro skills and managing your time. I have interviewed people, psychologists, better mental health. Who doesn't need to know about better mental health? And even like about history. I'm going to be dabbling into a little bit of politics, which will be different for me. A couple of interviews coming up about that. And I interview people from all walks of life, domestic violence. I'm sure there's caregivers who have faced that, historical events, even about sharks, just a variety. And I learned so much from each guest that I have on. I've interviewed many caregivers that have written books, that have a business, and you actually probably know some of them. And I just want, one of the reasons for chatting with Betsy, George, is that I want to provide people with resources that I wish I knew about when Matt was alive. Death doula, navigating hospice, what's available in your community or other communities. Sometimes we don't know what's in our own backyard. And I want people to know about resources that can help them have a better life. And chatting with Betsy is really came about because of my advocacy that I started in my car.
How many years have you been doing it?
Chatting with Betsy, it'll be 5 years next month, but I've been with Pastoral Talk Radio 6 years because I was on Jeanne White show, her Connect show, for 1 year.
Do you remember who your first interview was with? Just curious.
It was a caregiver. I don't
That's why,
remember.
that's why I like, again, what you do, because variety is good. It shows it can reach anyone, all different aspects, topics, people. It's not kind of just one specific area. I try to concentrate on Parkinson's because it's not enough, I think, but I really enjoy listening to your show. And again, I recommend everyone out there also to support Betsy, and you'll really enjoy the show. I know it was an honor. I was on a few times, and I just always, you make everyone feel like family, and it's very comfortable. Now you're getting into politics, so you hopefully you'll definitely won't be banned on Facebook, but you probably will, even if you don't talk about what side or any of that. That's one area we love to stay away from. But the nice thing is the national plan to end Parkinson's disease passed recently, and that was bipartisan, which is literally very rare today in society, where nobody could argue over, whether or not to get rid of Parkinson's, thankfully. So I think we found the one topic that everyone hopefully agrees on. So I appreciate you sharing that. Is there any other areas on,
You know,
yeah,
oh, I just wanted to tell you that I'm so proud of you,
thanks.
because I knew when I met you 4 years ago, you were going to be a fierce advocate. I knew there was something special about you. And, congratulations on your book. And you're just out there every day. And I just love you and admire you for your passion and your drive to help other people. And I hope everyone will listen to your shows and get involved, find out how they can get involved. Max, no, it wasn't Max, it was Josh, my son Josh. He went to a doctor, and she told me that she had Parkinson's. She was only in her, I think, late 50s. And she said to me, I never thought this would happen to me. And I said, no one ever does. And no one ever does think that it's going to happen to them. And I gave her resources to help her.
No, it's amazing. Yeah, I mean, I didn't think this would become what it is. I always joke and say I thought we'd have about 5 or 6 people, follow the website, and I'd be happy with that just because it kind of, helps me cope still today. But also other people will learn about my mother's journey. Well, we've had over 40,000 people visit the site. So I don't know if it's something we're doing or that unfortunately the disease is actually, growing and progressing around the world. So it's about 1 million people in the US, but 10 million around the world. And I don't want it to be like that. I hope someday soon we can both not do this anymore because they'll have a cure for both. So till then, I know we'll both be side by side fighting for both Parkinson's and Alzheimer's awareness and hope for a cure. Now I wanted to shift a little. I think I'll leave this up though, just because I'm worried about I'll leave this beautiful picture of this young lady as we continue to talk. But I wanted to talk a little bit more about you. So these are some interesting questions. I hope they're a little bit fun. And if you don't like one, you can pass and you don't have to answer. But can you list 3 words that describe who you are?
Believe it or not, I'm shy, but I'm very passionate. I'm very passionate. I'm very caring, and I just love to help people. And I believe I was born to serve.
No, I love that. And also, we're going to dedicate today in memory of Matt and all of your family. And this will live on, I hope, forever. So we'll never forget him. Is there one moment or one most memorable moment that stands out through most of your advocacy so far? Just one moment.
Getting banned from Facebook.
And can you explain more?
Unbelievable.
I love the
Me,
honest.
you can't say certain words now, so I have to be careful.
I mean, even the name of your group, I have it up now. I'm surprised they didn't ban you for the ass part. So,
Yeah.
and then,
Me, women show themselves half naked, right? And that's okay.
yeah, what are some projects you're currently working on, if you could share?
I just really do the chatting with Betsy and the blog with you, and just keep plugging at it. I always advocate every day, usually in my own Facebook page. Post about some kind of post about Alzheimer's. And I don't have the answers, I'll find someone who does. My group has a rich in resources. You remember, George, a lot of the resources in my group. I welcome anyone to join. Your loved one does not have to have Alzheimer's. All dementias are welcome. You don't even have to have anyone in your family with dementia. Just come and learn about the different dementias. Because the fact is, George, and you know this as well as I do, as a baby boomer, and I'm a baby boomer, age, there's going to be someone's going to be a caregiver. Josh already was a caregiver from a teenager to his adult life, and more young people will be caregivers.
And tell me if I'm wrong, but I think it was recently would have been Matt's birthday, and I think you bought a cake, which I loved to celebrate his birthday. That was beautiful.
Yeah, definitely.
So happy
Yeah,
birthday.
yesterday was.
Happy
Thank
birthday.
you.
We're thinking.
Thank you. Thank you. And we honor and celebrate Matt's life. I will always honor and celebrate Matt's memory. And I know you understand, and you show pictures of your beautiful mom all the time. And, they lived on this earth, George, so why can't we celebrate them? Why can't we celebrate if we're married, an anniversary? You were married, you can't deny that unless you want to. But I think that I see a lot more people now showing pictures of their loved ones and honoring their loved one's birthday and anniversaries, because you know what? Don't care what people think, really. Do what you want to do and to honor and celebrate your loved one's life. And I will always talk about Matt until I can't talk anymore.
And we'll also do that right by your side. Here's this is one that I love because it's more for caregivers, but also who helps you today? I probably know the answer, but who helps you during times of struggle, like through Matt's birthday when he's not with you? I was a caregiver like you. What tips could you give to caregivers listening today? So that's kind of a two-part question. First, again, is who's by your side right now today if you're struggling? And then the other one is, can you give any tips to caregivers?
Sure. Well, I have my son Josh, and I do have friends who, support. A good friend of mine died in January,
Or
but I'm not ashamed to say, George, I go for counseling. I still go for counseling, which has helped me tremendously. And I recommend for anyone to go for counseling. And an important tip for caregiving, folks, self-care is so vital to your health. If you don't take care of yourself during your loved one's journey, you may not enjoy life afterwards, and you have every right to enjoy life during and after caregiving. So please make yourself a priority. I know it's hard, especially for women, because you always put everybody else first, but you have to take care of yourself. It's really a matter of your life and death, and you being able to enjoy life. And I just am thankful that I am still here, pretty good health, and I thank God for that. But I not just caregived for Matt for 10 years, but also his mom for 5 years.
Yeah.
So it's important, and
Thank
get
you.
support.
No, I agree full-heartedly. That's some important tips. And that's what the show is, also another resource. So again, please reach out to Betsy and follow her on passionateworldtalkradio.com. You can see her show as they're aired. Is there something you might have looked back today and done differently in the past 10 years?
Yes, I wished I had help in navigating the hospice process. That I wish I had help with, and I wish I knew that there was a death doula in the area that could have helped support me.
Yeah, I think, as you might agree, the word caregiving is interesting because none of us plan to be caregivers. I never even knew what it was. I heard the word in school, but never dreamt I would be kind of thrown into it like the sharks, like when you're just out of school in law school or police, or you're just thrown into it. And sometimes you look back and now what you've learned and all the incredible information might have helped you, but we can never regret, what we've done and tried to do. My only regret, to be honest, is I wish we had the technology and I had a podcast with my mother, but I would have loved to have had one about our life and nothing about Parkinson. But that would have been the only regret I have, which wouldn't have been possible because we didn't have this technology 10 years ago and no one had shows. Now everybody's got one. But I would have, it would have been a dream to have, memories of me and my mother just talking about childhood and things that even writing the book was not easy because I have her sister still with us, thankfully. So she shared a lot, but I don't have any real knowledge of my childhood unless I remember things. And that would have been a beautiful thing to have, like a whole website with all our shows and just talking about life. So that's the only thing I wish I could have done, but I appreciate you sharing that with us. What do you think? So here's a good one. I know what the answer is. I shouldn't have, but if you could have one wish granted today, what would it be?
I wish for a cure for all these diseases.
Yeah,
To know, to know the pain of watching their loved one deteriorate before your eyes. It's a horrible disease.
Yeah, I agree. And it's the thing that always has to be pointed out is when you have Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, it's not just the individual diagnosed patient, it's also the loved ones around them, the family and the community who also are affected. So we have to always remember to never let them be forgotten. So I thank you for sharing that. Just a few more questions as we wrap up. If you were asked to write a script to a movie about your life story, what would you call it?
That's a tough one. I'm going to call it the accidental podcast.
I love it. Well, you're doing great. So I'm glad you were able, and this is new for Betsy. If we weren't family, I think she would have declined the video. So I'm glad you didn't because it turned out great. If you could leave the Parkinson's,
Um,
actually, not just Parkinson, but Alzheimer's and Parkinson's community today with some words of encouragement, what would they be?
Enjoy your loved one. Enjoy being with your loved one. Don't worry about how you'll be at such and such a stage. Just enjoy being with them. Celebrate everything. Doesn't matter if they remember or not. You will remember. Take pictures, take videos, so you have precious memories to look back on.
I love that. It's great. The best advice I've heard in a long time. And I agree. Even now, I try to look at some of the photos of me and my mother, and I'm lucky I have some, but I find now I'm up to the point where I'm reusing the same ones, which, it's okay, but I wish I could find new ones. But, you're only limited by what you have. Even today, we watched our wedding. And as you know, the cover of my book was the moment my mother and I danced during my wedding. It's my favorite moment. And now it was on DVD, and now no one uses DVD. So I can't even really figure out how to watch it now. It's nuts. But you have to never, it's in your memory, so you never forget. Well, I want to thank you for joining me today, and our listeners we're really excited about having you. Maybe you could just kind of close out by telling us how someone can reach you, and if I missed any topics you wanted to also cover.
Sure. Excuse me. The air in New Jersey is terrible. You can reach me on my Facebook page, Betsy E. Wurzel, or Passion World Talk Radio Network.com. And I just want to thank you, George, for having me on. You're like my adopted son, although I'm a little too young to be your mom, unless I had you as a teenager.
I do
But
feel we're, I do
go
feel
with your
we're all family in this fight, and if we don't, I think our voices, as I'll say before we close, are so much stronger together.
yes. Um, Follow your gut instincts, folks. If you feel there's something amiss with yourself or your loved one, memory wise, maybe you see them not functioning, go to a doctor. Get as many opinions as you need for your peace of mind. And don't be afraid to advocate. You have to educate yourself about your loved one's disease. It's very important. Education makes such a big difference in the life of a caregiver and their loved one. I know that firsthand because with Matt's mom, I didn't know anything. There was no resources, but with Matt, there was resources, not like there is now, but I became educated and made a big difference.
Well, I want to thank you again for your time, your love, and support, and we send it right back at you, and we'll be right by your side throughout any time you need anything, and even time when you don't know, we're still thinking of you. So thank you, and we have a little message for you and everyone listening out there. We love you, we support you, we care a lot about you, and you're never alone. I, along with Betsy, will advocate for you, and together, I feel our voices are so much stronger. And I always end on saying I'm just getting started because, I mean, I don't even know if I would have made it this far if it wasn't for your friendship. I know when I was first seeking out help or just support, I went on Facebook. I think that's how we met, and you were just a shining light out of the darkness. And even today, we're still best of friends. But thankfully, I met you and not some of the other wacky or brave people on there because, as you know, and we've spoken, 99.9% of the people on social media are incredible, but you always have the few that you're just not going to understand. But you never let those one or two stop you. And we have a lot more work to do because we still have a lot more people who have to go through this each and every day. So again, I just want to thank you and send our love to you and everyone listening. Please stay tuned. We have a lot more incredible guests coming. Please follow Betsy and also support her show. You're going to really enjoy it. You'll laugh a little. You might cry a little, but you also smile. And again, thank you, Betsy. It means the world to have your time today.
Well, thank you, George. I'm honored. So honored to know you. Thank you.
Thanks. And thank you again, everyone. This has been another episode of Q&A with Sharon's son, George. Again, this conversation has to continue till we find a cure for Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. We're all a family in these diseases and to end them, but also for awareness. I do feel, and I think Betsy agrees, that more awareness we have, the more likely we'll come closer to a cure. So thank you all. We send our love and support, and we'll speak to you very soon. Thanks, everyone.